I was at a really low moment. This was COVID. I was at a really low moment, probably one of my lowest moments. I was dealing with depression. And I'll say that one of the biggest things I was dealing with was a sense, like a feeling, an overwhelming feeling of emptiness that I felt like no matter what I did, no matter what I was getting into, no matter like what I was gaining, because this is when I had first started making content. And
you were blowing up too.
Yeah.
You were going viral, like on the Shade Room, like.
Yeah, it was a lot of things happening very, very, very quickly, like things that I was like really praying for. I'm like, oh, it's all happening. But it was so crazy because it's like all these things are happening, all things that are like I really wanted, like goals that I had. I'm seeing them and they're happening. But for whatever reason, like I just couldn't get rid of that feeling of emptiness. Like that feeling of emptiness, that void would never go away. Yeah. And long story short, I'll never forget the date, October 6, 2020. I had an encounter with God that honestly changed my entire life, changed my entire perspective on life. Gave my life to Christ the following morning, October 7th, which is actually my father's birthday too, which shows how crazy, like how intentional God is. But yeah, over the next 6 months, my entire life was just transformed in every single aspect. I'm talking like academically, physically, spiritually, relationally, every single aspect of my life was just like a complete 180. And it was at that point that I decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna just dedicate my content from now to just spreading the gospel as much as I possibly can.
And then you know what I like about your testimony is, like, if you guys can remember, he said you grew up as a PK. Yeah. Like you were in the church, but you gave your life to Christ like 4 years ago.
Pretty much,
right? Yeah. Like that's when you started actually building a relationship with God. Because many people just think like, because I grew up in church, I've been in church my whole life, it means you have a relationship with God. Sir, no, you feel me? No. And that the intimacy part of it, that with you and God, that didn't happen until like, yo, you became like, until you hit rock bottom.
And I'll even say this too, it's so crazy because it's actually funny that you said, like, you know, we're talking about when I actually got saved, which is 4 years ago. I could if I had $1 for every retreat or camp that I went to, a church service where, like, yo, I said the prayer, yo, come up here if you feel led. We're praying for everybody. Come and give your life to Christ, bro. Like, so many different times. Like, okay, God, this is the time. You know what? God, I'm gonna stop doing this. God, let me rededicate this. But I think there's a certain heart posture that you have to really receive God. Like I was at a point where like I needed God. Like I had no choice. Like I was at a complete low. Like when anybody that's been dealing with depression, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was to the point where like my mom could see it, even though I wasn't saying anything. Because you know your mom will see everything. Yeah, they'll notice everything. They notice everything. She's like, yo, you're not eating, you're not leaving your room, you're isolating yourself. Like all the signs were there, and I didn't really see it until people around me was telling me. But yeah, I was just at a low point, like failing all my classes. Like I just didn't have a desire to do anything. Like my finances were terrible, bad. Like it just felt like nothing was going like how I wanted to go, no matter what I did. No matter what I did, nothing was going how I wanted to go. And then I had that encounter with God. I was like, all right, like at this point, I might as well. Like I've done everything else. I might as well. And when I tell you, and it was quick too. When I tell you it was a transform, like a quick transformation, like almost overnight. And I was like, all right, man, like at this point, there's no way that I could possibly say that it was me. So like it was a point that it kind of like removed like all doubt from my mind that like, okay, God is real and he actually works.
And it's funny that you mentioned that. You know, one thing I want to like highlight with people giving their life to Christ, because there's a difference between receiving the life of Christ and actually giving your life to Christ.
That's good.
Because many people, they receive the life of Christ, but they don't give their life to Christ.
That's good.
So when your life is actually given to Christ, it means that you're living a life that is surrendered to him. Because it's easy to receive the life of Christ. How do you receive the life of Christ? You just believe. But to give your life to Jesus, what it means is I'm denying everything in me and every part of me, and I'm saying, God, take everything and I'm submitting to you.
If you love me, obey my commands.
Like, you feel me? And it's that important factor. If you want true, because the reason why many people don't see true transformation in their life is because they haven't given their life to Christ. And when your life is not given to Christ, you're going to walk according to the way that you want to walk in. But when you give your life to him, it's a whole different ball game. That's when the whole transformation process starts happening. And for some people, you might be saying, yo, I've been a Christian for 20 years. You probably haven't given your life to Christ for 20 years.
And you know what's crazy? I feel like that's exactly what scares a lot of people away. Mm-hmm. What you just said, I feel like that's what makes so many people so like, nah, I don't know. You know what? Nah, maybe down the line, but not right now because of all the sacrifice that comes with it. People don't want to make that sacrifice. But I think a lot of people focus on what you're giving up and not what you're gaining.
Ooh, say that again, my boy.
I think a lot of people really focus too much on what you're giving up and not what you're gaining. Because if you knew what you were gaining, what you were giving up would feel like, yo, this is nothing. I'll give this up at the drop of a hat.
That's so good.
You know what I mean?
That's so good, bro. Yo, mind you guys, we haven't even started on the topic yet. Bro, we haven't even started on the topic yet.
We ain't even scratched the surface.
We even this is straight introduction right now.
I'm trying to keep it limited, but
bro,
it's like, bro,
keep flowing. Bro. At this point, like whatever the Holy Spirit want to do, I'm with it.
I mean, it's true though. Like all those things, like love, joy, peace, like patience, like all those, you know, like the whole all the fruit to the Holy Spirit, like you get all, and you know what also is important too. A lot of people don't realize that all those things that you receive when you were coming to Christ, a lot of the time it's like those same exact things that you were looking for when you were in the world. Like you were looking for love, you were looking for peace.
But in different places.
Exactly.
The wrong way.
You were looking for it in all the wrong places, and you finally come to Christ, you're like, oh my God, it was here the whole time.
Yeah. No, that's actually so good, man. That's actually so good. Like, I'm still stuck on that. Like, yo, you're not focusing on what you're getting. You're only focusing on what you're giving up. Yep.